Welcome to Strong and Supported Pelvic Health. This is where we are going to talk all things pelvic floor, pregnancy, postpartum, fitness, weightlifting, and even overcoming pain, because you deserve to feel strong and supported no matter what season you're in. I want you to walk away from every episode with a few nuggets of applicable wisdom, feeling more empowered in your wellness journey. Let's get started.
All right, so today I have the pleasure of getting to know Jackie Kelley. Some of you might know her from her online presence at Stay at Home Jackie. So she's a stay-at-home mom and author. And one of the things that initially drew me to Jackie was, and like following her story, was her ability to show up as her authentic self, which is something that I strive and aspire to do myself. I've noticed that her insights range from anything from like ADHD, self-compassion, and kind of all things motherhood. But first things first, I'm going to be a little dramatic here. I won this shirt at her Miss Congeniality night. So I wear this when I need the shirt to do the talking for me, because all of you moms know what that means and what that feels like. So let's get into it. And Jackie, I'd love to hear from you. And let's just start with your story. So if you wouldn't mind sharing some of your postpartum journey and some of the things you experienced. I know you briefly mentioned that you experienced some prolapse symptoms as well. I'd just love to hear all of it.
Yeah, so I had my first son. I got pregnant at 23, had him at 24. He was a 40-hour labor and a 10-pound baby, but my pelvic floor stayed intact with that one, which was amazing. And ironically, I had not heard of the term prolapse or anything along those lines until after I'd given birth, because I feel like there's just no education or resources. Nobody tells you. I remember being in a group of women and being like, what happens? What can happen to your insides? And I was horrified, especially because no one had ever talked about it and it was super taboo. But I thought I'd made it out after the 10-pound baby. We also thought we were done after one kid, just because I had postpartum depression really bad. And it was just a really chaotic time with my husband starting a business. But we got pregnant. We didn't get pregnant on accident, but it was an accident that we found out we were pregnant 2 weeks into COVID lockdown. That part was not on purpose. And then my second son was born in December of 2020, and he was only 8 pounds, and I thought I was fine. And I don't know what your viewpoint is on this. I'm still wary of it myself, but I had a super traumatic incident a couple of weeks or a couple of months after giving birth. And immediately after that, I noticed my pelvic floor had given out. And I know bodies react to trauma in certain ways. And I've always wondered, I'm like, was it because of the scary situation, or was it because of the birth and I just didn't notice? But it was a very weird situation of traumatic thing happened and my pelvic floor gave up on me. But it was in hindsight, it was fine, but in the moment was one of the scariest things, the pelvic floor, that I've ever gone through, because you Google it and it's bleak. Yeah. It's really bleak if you just do a dry Google of how to handle a prolapse. And I just had never heard anything positive about it. I'd only heard those horror stories, especially those infomercials on late night TV about if you have the mesh put in and you want to sue, we're doing a lawsuit. And I'm like, I don't want that life.
No, that's not the life for me.
Yeah. So that was kind of my journey into motherhood and journey into becoming very intimate with my pelvic floor. And I joked at one point I wanted to get a shirt that said, "Ask me about my pelvic floor," because once I unlocked the magic, I was like, no one talks about this.
Right.
Which I'm like, I know is your whole job is to tell everyone about pelvic floors, and like maybe we make you a shirt that says ask me about my pelvic floor. But
I just wrote it down because I was like, yes, I'm gonna make a shirt.
yeah, you're like, I'm very open to talking about it. It's kind of my job.
That's so great. And to kind of speak on your trauma and then prolapse symptoms, yes, it's very connected. And you most likely had some of the like tissue laxity and things going on anyway. But then with trauma and our emotional side of everything happening, our body does respond in a way that lets us know. Alerts are, yeah, things are not smooth and just like easy going right now. And so there's a lot of pelvic floor tension that can happen, and it actually makes your pelvic floor or your prolapse symptoms feel worse. So you were probably chill, and then the tension happened, and then it was like, oh, what's this?
Yeah.
Letting you know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not something that people really want to talk about. And then, you know, it is doom and gloom. Like before I had kids or before I got into this field, that like people were like, yeah, I have a prolapse and my uterus is falling out. And I'm like, it's what? It's falling out?
Yeah. So scary. And I just think even some of the research, they talked about pessaries, they talked about meshes, they talked about just all this stuff that just none of it seemed like there's a way to make it better. It just was like you can maintain it until you die, and it will get worse as you get older and don't even think about having more kids because you won't even have a pelvic floor anymore. So the whole thing was terrifying. And it was even a point I didn't even want to tell my husband. I was embarrassed to tell my husband about it just because it does feel so icky and gross and freaky that you don't want to. I was nervous to tell my friends. It just, there's so many negative connotations that go along with it. So I've really come a long way in understanding that pelvic floors are very important and very normal, and very arguably necessary.
Yeah.
To functioning.
For normal function. All of the above. Like the basic essentials of life.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there is this kind of shame that is kind of intermixed with anything pelvic floor, and especially, heaven forbid, something's wrong with it, you know. It's not all like tightened up, you know, and working the way society feels like we need to have it functioning. What did you do to kind of help heal this, and how was that journey for you?
So people laugh so hard when I tell them this. Actually, they're first horrified and then they laugh really hard. So I have a friend who is one of the most modest women I have ever met. Like, just does not talk about any of this, breastfeeds with like a full cover on, just like, she is not the person to talk to about your pelvic floor. But turns out she had a really serious issue with her pelvic floor after birth. And she knew someone, a man, who basically was one of her coworkers, and he totally healed her pelvic floor. And she's like, I highly recommend. I'm like, this is a random dude, and it's in his house. Because he's like, I can come to your house. I'm like, that's worse. So I was like, we are rolling the dice here. I think this sounds crazy. But this guy, I know he had also helped my friend's babies with torticollis. He had helped my friend who had knee issues forever. I know another girl who flies her son who has a genetic issue, flies him from out of state to work with this guy. Like, this guy knows all the things. So I was like, fine. Worst case scenario, I get murdered in his living room. Let's pray for the best. And I went to this guy, and it was definitely, I don't think anyone goes to pelvic floor physical therapy and he's like, that was great. That was so comfortable. What a relaxing trip I just took. But he healed it. We had a couple of months of sessions. I called it vaginal weightlifting, basically. And then I told myself the whole time, I was like, I will have a party when I graduate pelvic floor physical therapy. And I did. I invited a lot of my friends out to a dinner, and we drank and we celebrated my newly restored pelvic floor. And that's what I had to tell myself the whole time. I'm like, just get to the party, just get to your pelvic floor party. And it was. And like I told you at first, I was horrified. By the end, ask me about my pelvic floor. I was telling bartenders at that place, I was ready to tell everyone about my pelvic floor. And I just wish, and I don't want to horrify pregnant mothers. I don't want to horrify them, but I'm like, just a heads up. This might happen. Just like, I don't want to scare you, but it might happen. But yeah, it fixed it. And I now know way more than I ever thought I would know about pelvic floors.
That's amazing. He sounds like some guru guy. Can I meet him?
Yeah, he's great. He's really great. We joked initially that he used to have a really long ponytail and he cut it off. I'm like, I don't know if I would have been able to do it with the ponytail in place. But like I went back a few years later for my ankle. Like he knows everything. He knows everything. But he helped one of my other friends. So I didn't realize that you can have issues with your pelvic floor being too loose. You can have issues with your pelvic floor being too tight. I had a friend who had chronic lower back pain for years. She went to him. He was like, your pelvic floor is jacked. Fixed it. What?
Mm-hmm.
My mind was blown. I'm like, it all goes back to your pelvic floor.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Is that, I mean, do you just see people and blow their minds every time they show up to your practice?
Sometimes they're like, are you kidding me? Nobody's ever like touched that pain before, but they're like, I've been like trying to massage it and they think it's back or hip. And then I'm just like right there and they're like, that's it.
Oh my gosh.
So it is.
Even like pain points during, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about sex on this, but like pain points during sex, I didn't realize like there are people who live their entire lives with intercourse being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And like it can be fixed, which is just wild. But I think it's something that's embarrassing that people don't want to talk about, or they think that it's normal to have pain. So they just live their lives with it. And there is a solution. There is help for it. And I just wish everyone was more comfortable about it, which it takes work. Like I said, I was horrified, but we get there.
Yeah, I definitely, as the person who I also had pelvic floor dysfunction following the birth of my son, and yes, a little prolapse and pain with intimacy and, like all of this stuff, it is mortifying when it's you and you're like, this isn't how I want things to work. And this isn't what I was anticipating. And I thought I knew how to, not do this and not have this. And so there is this like hidden and shame and all of the things. But luckily with the education that I have, and I have a really helpful partner, like it was not as mortifying as I feel like it could have been had I not been able to talk about it. So that's why I want to do things like this, where we can talk about it and just be like, yes, that was my experience as well. And then, yes, prepare future women, but then also know that the people who are still dealing with this sort of issue years later, it's not too late to do something about it. And not to just be like, I'm cursed forever.
Well, I grew up where the running joke with my mom and everyone my mom's age was like, we pee when we sneeze, we pee when we jump, we pee when we run. And that was just it. Like you hit a certain age and you will be peeing your pants. I remember seeing the commercials about this pad is for when you pee your pants. Like it's just a normal, totally normal part of life. You will hit a certain age, your 30s, 40s, 50s, and you will pee every time you sneeze. And it was just like the butt of the joke. And then now going through all this, I'm like, oh wait, that's not normal. But there wasn't pelvic floor physical therapy. So you just had kids, you peed your pants, and then you died. So I think also a reminder to women in their 40s, 50s, even if they haven't had kids in a long time, like if you are dealing with pain, if you are peeing your pants, all of this stuff is like, you're right, it's not too late. And from all the research I've done, it will just continue to get worse if you don't do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with, like the changes that happen as we age, 100%. Like I'm not saying that I'm old by any means, but I am perimenopausal already. And so then I'm like, all of a sudden I felt some distinct changes and I'm like, this isn't feeling as normal as it was. So then, advocating for myself, going to the doctor and being like, I thought I got past some of these symptoms and now they're getting worse all of a sudden, like what could be going on? And so then amongst other symptoms, she's like, I think we're perimenopausal. And so then now I'm on like low dose hormone replacement therapy. And so then all of these things, like had I not known to advocate for myself in that like time frame, the appropriate time frame, then it's just like, you're just living and suffering for so much longer when you don't have to be. So, yeah, that self-advocacy is huge. So I'm impressed that you were able to do that for yourself. Are there any other ways that you found how to like navigate the wellness medical system or anything like that? Any like helpful tidbits you've learned?
I will say I knew something was wrong. So like I basically like felt things bulging out of my vagina. I was like, this is not right. So I called my OBGYN because in order to get to a physical therapist, I needed a referral. And I walked in pretty sure my life was over. And my OBGYN had me lay down and look and told me it wasn't that bad. She's like, it's fine. It's not that bad. Kind of blew me off a little bit. She's like, if you feel like you need physical therapy, I guess I could. I was like, and I kind of was like, am I crazy right now? And also she's looking at it while I'm lying down on my back. So obviously it's not going to look like it does doing any type of physical activity. And for a moment, I almost just shut up and said, well, I don't want to be dramatic. I don't want to go to a physical therapist and now have another person tell me that I'm totally fine, even though I know that I'm not. And so I almost just said, forget about it. Like, I'm too embarrassed. I guess it's fine, and didn't trust my gut. But of course I went to the pelvic floor physical therapist and he was like, yikes, this is bad. I was like, okay. So having that justification, and just, I'm not a great example of advocating for myself, but I feel like in that moment, I knew that I had to do something. And I think also having a few other women around me that were they were at that time where I am now, where they were just so open and honest and encouraging about it. Like, it's not a big deal in the sense of you don't need to be embarrassed. There is help. You are going to get better. I'm here for you. I want to talk about it with you. I want to talk about my own journey. I want to normalize it a little bit more. I feel like if I hadn't had those few women in my life, it would have been a lot harder for me to advocate. And now I want to make sure that I try to be that woman to other people and try to make them feel comfortable, and that it's not something to be embarrassed about, and there is hope for it and you can make it better. So I'm just very grateful to those women, and still a little salty about that OBGYN who blew me off, but you know what? It's okay.
Yeah. What a beautiful experience though, to be able to have that on the receiving end of that kind of love and compassion and direction. And then now to be able to talk about it, validate, and share that experience with other women in your environment, because that's what it means to me to be a woman and serve and help and support, because like, we can't do this alone, and that's our village. Like, we need other women to talk about this. And I kind of feel a little salty about my OBGYN.
Oh no.
Because I went in and had almost a similar experience where I was like, hey, sex hurts. And she was like, oh, well, you run your own business and you have a young kid. And I think, have you guys dated? Have you tried going out and having a little wine? And I was like, I know better. I don't tell people this. Like, I want you to give me the go to PT kind of referral, kind of like you did. But even though I know now, I don't know what it was like when you went, but now Arizona has direct access for physical therapy, which is something not very many people know about. Depending on your insurance, most insurances allow you to self-refer to therapy. So like if you have back pain and your insurance allows this, you can go to a physical therapy clinic and be like, I have back pain. Can you do an assessment? Then we do the assessment and then we send it to your doctor and your insurance will pay for it and cover it. So that is something huge, just to know that you can be like, I don't have to take what you have to say for it. I know something's wrong and I'm just going to go myself. So that's something that's huge for Arizona. I love it. I think most of the states are self-referral now. So which is good.
That's amazing. Yeah, that would have helped. I can't believe the doctor told you to go drink some wine.
I know. And I don't drink. So it was kind of like this, like,
well, I guess you'll just never have good sex again then.
I know. I was like, oh, well, that's why people drink, I guess. Like,
oh my gosh, that's wild.
So anyway, I just was a little bit like, that wasn't great advice. I was kind of testing you, but you failed. So let's move on. In that realm of things, have you ever noticed any setbacks? So yes, we've made progress. Now you know more about your body. Are there days where you're just like, oh, I'm feeling this or that?
Yes, I started going to the gym a lot more recently, so I'm doing a lot more bouncing than I was previously. Bouncing and jumping. Not good at it. I have weak ankles. Like a small Victorian child, I just fall over a lot. Turns out my balance is just garbage. But with that, it's funny because I feel like doing jumping jacks, jumping over hurdles, I'm much more aware of my pelvic floor. When I feel like I'm not doing any physical activity, I can go days and forget that it exists. And then when I'm working out, I'm like, okay, all right. No, I see that you're there. Definitely with movement. Yeah, it makes me pay a lot more attention to it.
Okay. So it's almost like you're leveling up your activity, it sounds like, and then your pelvic floor, there may be a little delay, but it'll catch up with this foundational experience and knowledge that you've gained. Now you just apply it to this new level.
Yes.
Which is why it's so empowering to feel that way. I learned all these things. I know what I need to do. And now I just apply it to whatever life choices I'm making right now.
Yeah. So I'm really trying to lift correctly and just kind of be aware, much more aware of my body as I'm doing things. And it is funny at the gym because you hear women joke about peeing themselves, and I just want to scream at them all to go get physical therapy.
I should might be a shirt that says "Ask me about my pelvic floor" shirt, and then on the back it's my face.
Yeah, and then you're contact info. I think that'll be perfect.
Just
whenever I tell my friends about the random man's living room I went to, they're like, "Do you have other options?" So you're my new other option. They're like, "Is there a way to not do that?" I'm like, "It works. It's just sketchy." And I didn't accept any insurance either. It just did feel like it might be a murder movie, but it worked out great. But I think your face will probably be the recommendation moving forward, so I don't lose any friends and scare them away.
Oh, well, I'm sure with the self-referral, what's the word? Where you highly recommend someone, then I feel like your friends would be like, oh, okay, I believe you. But my office isn't much different. I'm within a CrossFit gym. So they come into a gym and then I have a private room. So I choose pelvic floor people come on weekends when no one's there. Maybe one or two people are working out, but it's not like the
whole party.
The workout with the weights slamming in the ground. So we're picky about our timing with pelvic floor assessments in our space, but that's where we're at right now. And I love it. It's better than when I had people coming to my garage, which I did do.
Stop.
We fixed it all up and it looked like a little gym, and I had sheets and draperies and but they still look up and they're like, there's a garage door opener. And so this is definitely leveled up.
I think it's great. It's also cool that you have it in a CrossFit gym. I feel like that also speaks to just taking care of your whole body in general. And also I think it's awesome that you're a woman. I just think the empowerment of you being able to speak from your story. You've been through this, you've done it, you've given birth, you've walked it. I feel like that gives people such a level of confidence and comfort knowing that you can empathize really heavily with what they're going through.
Yeah, I kind of had to create this avatar for my programming and things like that. And I'm like, it's me. So whatever I'm marketing or whatever, I'm like, what would I want to hear? And then it's kind of easy in that sense. But yeah, definitely my goal, especially with these conversations like this, is I call it strong and supported pelvic health is the name of it, because like what you said, when you're doing like vaginal weightlifting, like you want to be strong, you want to feel empowered, but then on the flip side of that, we do need the support and we do need the help. And that in and of itself is strength. So that's kind of why I named it that. But I feel like based on everything we've talked about, we want to normalize pelvic floor dysfunction. We want to talk about it openly, help support the women who haven't gone through it yet, and then advocate for ourselves. Don't accept "you're fine" or "welcome to the club" as the norm. And then I think, again, taking that initiative to, once you've experienced it, gone through it, and then helping others is a really great way to move this kind of mission forward.
Absolutely. And I think that it's a very cool thing that you're able to do and provide to women who otherwise can feel super hopeless and super isolated. And if they don't feel like they can talk to their spouses, or they don't feel like they can talk to their friends, they can talk to you. And I just think that's absolutely magical. And I think you're doing a beautiful thing in the world for pelvic floors and the people who have them.
Everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Is there any last tidbit of like knowledge, wisdom, advice, or anything else that you'd like to share before we kind of finalize everything?
I would just say pelvic floor, and just in general, I think this situation taught me that nothing is final and nothing is unfixable. So things might not always go back exactly how they were, but things will be okay again, even if it's a new normal. But just understanding that any hardship, any injury, anything scary that happens, like, things will be okay again. You just need to find the right support people around you to get back to that place. So just not to give up hope in a situation if it feels really bleak.
I love that. That was summarized perfectly and beautifully. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for our conversation. I loved it, and I hope my listeners will love it. And so until next time, because maybe we'll chat again sometime soon.
Yes, please. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thank you.